The episode starts with Gi-hun, who now has red hair, walking through a busy airport. His phone rings, and it is the salesman he saw earlier. The man asks him what he is doing and says he has nowhere to go. Gi-hun gets nervous and looks around. The voice warns him that he will regret not getting on the plane. Gi-hun decides to leave the airport instead and says he will find the salesman. In a taxi, he asks the driver to take him to Seoul. The story jumps to 2 years later. Junho is now working as a traffic cop. His old boss visits him, upset about his transfer. They have lunch, and the boss asks Junho to come back to major crimes. He says they searched the area Junho mentioned but found nothing, so he is not sure Junho's story is true. The photos Junho sent did not arrive, and he lost his phone in the ocean. When asked if he remembers who shot him, Junho lies and says he does not. This time, it is a man at the door. He says they have been searching subway stations for the salesman Gi-hun described, the one playing the red and blue card game, Dokji. Gi-hun wants them to do more, so he hands over a bag of cash to fund the search. He believes the salesman is recruiting people now and does not want to miss him. Outside, the man joins a van full of others and says they need everyone on this job. He does not believe Gi-hun's story but tells them there is a 1.1 billion won reward for finding the Dokji player and promises half the money to whoever finds him. Junho goes to a harbor and meets a fisherman on his boat. They go out to sea together, looking for the island. The fisherman turns out to be the man who saved Junho after he was shot. Meanwhile, a man who just got a card from the salesman ignores a call from his girlfriend, Junhee. She also has a card like his. As she blocks the call, she seems to be at a pregnancy clinic. But when the doctor comes out to call her, she is already gone. As Gi-hun hurries to meet his men, a police car pulls him over. The officer is Junho, but he lets his younger partner handle it. As Junho walks away, he notices Gi-hun's ID and becomes suspicious. Meanwhile, the salesman takes a taxi, and Gi-hun's men follow him in another taxi. They reach a strange location, and the boss suggests they attack the salesman to get the reward. They chase him down an alley, but the salesman suddenly turns around and fights them off using his briefcase. At the police station, Junho runs Gi-hun's ID and finds his photo. He remembers meeting Gi-hun in the rain while searching for his brother and seeing him in the game. He writes down the address of Sunshine Capital, hoping it will lead him to Gi-hun. Gi-hun arrives at the location where his men were but finds only blood stains. The salesman watches from above. He has tied up and gagged the two men and tells them they must play a game of rock, paper, scissors with a twist. Each player uses 2 hands, then removes one. If their hand wins, they are safe. If they lose, they face Russian roulette with a revolver. They play round after round, but no one gets shot. The salesman then loads more bullets into the gun. In the final round, the boss must decide whether to beat his partner or lose. Instead, he chooses not to take a hand away, which makes him lose automatically. The salesman turns to the boss and shoots him in the head. Outside the motel, Junho arrives and stays outside to watch. The salesman proposes a game of Russian roulette, where they take turns shooting, but they do not spin the gun. This way, after 6 turns, someone will definitely die. By the 5th turn, no one has been shot. The salesman thinks Gi-hun will shoot him to get to the people who hired him, but first, he wants Gi-hun to admit that he is trash and only won the game by luck. Instead, Gi-hun boldly fires the gun at himself, despite the 50-50 chance. He survives, so the salesman must shoot himself, and he does. The second episode starts with Junho hearing a gunshot, the sound of the salesman shooting himself, from outside the motel. He rushes inside and looks for Gi-hun. Instead, he finds the boss's partner, gagged and tied up on a bed. Junho frees him. A police officer finds a woman sleeping in her car. She says she works at the amusement park and is parked there because she has the morning shift. The officer warns her one last time and tells her she cannot stay there. The next morning at the amusement park, the woman from the car is dressed as one of the parade mascots. A little girl gives her a picture and the other mascots explain that the girl has blood cancer and needs a bone marrow transplant. That night, a man approaches her car and hands her a card inviting her to the game. Junho visits his brother's wife's grave. His brother, who is now the frontman, has not been there in 5 years. Junho wonders if he will ever see him again. Instead, he has dinner with his mother, who tells him his brother left because he resented her. He even gave Junho a kidney but got into trouble after accepting a bribe for his wife's care. At the amusement park, the woman quits her job. As she leaves, the sick little girl from earlier is taken away in an ambulance, dropping her strawberry hat. Inside the limo, a golden piggy bank, like the one from the game, talks to Gi-hun. It tells him again that he should have gotten on the plane. Gi-hun asks to stop the game, but the piggy bank says the players joined willingly and are all trash anyway. It says the game will never end unless the world changes. Gi-hun asks to play the game again, hoping the VIPs would like it. He tells them that when Nam died, he could tell the man knew he had lost. The piggy bank asks if Gi-hun really believes he can change the world, and Gi-hun says he will prove it. The piggy bank says the world does not always work the way Gi-hun thinks it should. In the end, they agree that Gi-hun will return to the game, and gas starts releasing in the limo, knocking him out. The front passenger turns around and reveals himself as frontman, saying, "Player 456, welcome back to the game." Meanwhile, the players, including the parade mascot, arrive and go into lockers in cargo trucks to change into their outfits. The twist is that the woman from the amusement park wears the pink jumpsuit and mask of a guard, not a player. The third episode starts at the harbor where the team is getting on the fisherman's boat. They use the tracker inside Gi-hun's tooth to follow him to the island. Meanwhile, Gi-hun wakes up, confused, and finds himself back in the game. He's in the same room with the same bunk beds, wearing the same green jumpsuit, and has the same number, 456. Everything feels the same as before, but Gi-hun is now determined to change things. Suddenly, a golden piggy bank descends from the ceiling, similar to Season 1. A man asks about the total prize money for the games. The players are told they can win 45.6 billion won. When asked for more details, the guards explain they will share how the prize money will be divided after the first game is complete. This time, however, there is a special option. After each game, the players will have the chance to vote on whether they want to end the games or continue playing. If they choose to stop, the games will be terminated, and the accumulated prize fund will be split among the players, allowing them to leave. Player 333, who was seen in the subway, is revealed to be an ex-YouTuber who lost a lot of people's money, including his own, through failed crypto investments. He is soon confronted by Player 230 and Player 124, two of his former followers who blame him for their financial losses. They threaten him and accuse him of convincing them to invest, but he defends himself, saying that it was their decision to follow his advice. Player 230 demands that he gets rich from the game because he wants his money back. Gi-hun then reads through the consent form carefully and signs it, committing to participate in the game. Another player approaches Player 230 and recognizes him as Thanos, a famous rapper. He excitedly mentions that he is a huge fan, and soon, other players start asking for photos. However, they are told that it is not allowed. Thanos promises to take photos once they are all out of the game. Meanwhile, Frontman watches as the players enter the game, walking through an intricate maze of colorful, interweaving staircases. As the game begins, Gi-hun races to the front of the group, shouting that anyone moving during red light will be shot. The other players dismiss him, thinking he is trying to win the money. The game proceeds. Jun-Lee, Player 222, holding her pregnant stomach, clings to her mother, Player 149, in the line. Thanos, under the influence of the pill, shoves players in front of him, knocking them over and causing them to be killed. As they near the finish line, a player is shot in the leg but is not killed. Gi-hun, despite having completed the game, returns to the field to help him. Player 120, a woman, joins him in carrying the injured man. They get him across the line, but the woman from the amusement park kills him anyway. As the voting continues, the majority shifts to those wanting to continue. The final vote comes down to Player 001, who votes to continue, meaning the game will go on. When Player 001 turns around, it is revealed that he is Frontman, Junho's older brother and the ruler of the games, though Gi-hun does not know his true identity. Episode 4 begins with a forklift carrying coffins that are disguised as large black presents with pink ribbons. The coffins contain the bodies of eliminated players. Guards unload them to place in the incinerators. Gi-hun sits with his old friend, Player 390. His friend talks about wanting to survive the next game to win more money. Gi-hun warns him, saying players who spoke like that during his previous game all died. Player 007 looks for his mother, Player 149, to tell her about the tip, but she is not around. She has gone to see Jun-Lee, Player 222, the woman who held her stomach during the first game. Player 149 shares her lunch with Jun-Lee and gently tells her that she is not just eating for herself. She reveals that she knows Jun-Lee is pregnant. A young man, Player 388, steps forward and suggests that everyone should work together as a team. Gi-hun's friend, Player 390, notices a tattoo on Player 388's arm. He asks if Player 388 served in the Marines and shows him a matching tattoo on his own arm. Frontman, disguised as Player 001, steps in to stop the fight. He tells them they cannot behave like that. Thanos, Player 230, sarcastically tells him to go home and yell at his own kids instead of interfering. Frontman, visibly angered, beats Thanos up, showcasing his fighting skills. The other players applaud his actions. Meanwhile, the guards are dissecting bodies to harvest organs for sale, but many are unusable. They complain that the bodies have been dead too long and say they need some alive. It is revealed that the woman from the amusement park, known as Guard 011, has been killing them off prematurely. The guards report this to one of the officers, who calls Guard 011 for a private meeting. The real second game begins. Thanos, player 230, swallows another pill from his necklace. When the players enter the game, it is not what Gi-hun expected. The game has been changed. Instead of playing individually, the players are told to form teams of 5. Frontman, disguised as player 001, decides to team up with Gi-hun, his friend player 390, and the young marine, player 388. They realize they still need one more teammate. Player 333 tries to team up with Jun-Lee, player 222, but she is still angry with him and walks away. Player 120, a woman, searches for a team, but no one wants to include her. She eventually finds player 095, a quiet woman, and they decide to form a team together. Meanwhile, the mother and son, players 149 and 007, also struggle to join a team. The other players only want the son and reject his mother. Gi-hun's team finds a final teammate, but just then, Jun-Lee, player 222, asks to join them. They accept her into the group. The two women, players 120 and 095, team up with the mother and son. They are joined by player 044, the woman who preached about death during the voting. Gi-hun's team is deciding their strategy when Frontman, disguised as player 001, addresses Gi-hun by his real name. He explains that he overheard Gi-hun's friend using it, but Gi-hun feels slightly suspicious. The second game begins, and two teams compete simultaneously. They are on a timer, and if they fail to complete all the mini-games in time, they are executed. The first two teams cannot finish on time, and the guards shoot all of them. Player 124, also known as Thanos' friend, asks Thanos for one of the pills from his necklace, and he gives him one. This time, the guards immediately enter to remove the bodies to prevent the organs from becoming unusable. They find one man still alive and prepare to take him first. The woman from the amusement park, known as Guard 011, insists on opening the coffin herself. She finishes the job, ignoring an officer's orders not to. The next two teams step forward to play. One of these teams includes the mother and son, along with players 044, 120, and 095. They are all nervous, but the game begins. Episode 5 begins with the second game, the six-legged pentathlon. The mother-son team, along with players 120, 095, and 044, are competing for their lives. They successfully pass the first 3 mini-games, but when it is player 044's turn to wrap the spinning top, she keeps failing. Player 120 becomes frustrated and slaps her across the face to snap her out of it. Thankfully, the slap works, and player 044 manages to succeed in the spinning top game. After this, more and more teams continue to make it through the games, but others still fail and die along the way. The tracks are stained with blood from those who could not survive. It comes down to the final 2 teams, with Gi-hun's team being one of them. When they reach the 5th and final minigame, Gi-hun is about to miss the 5th kick of the sack. The timer is almost up, and the pressure is immense. Just as Gi-hun is about to fail, Frontman lunges forward in a last-ditch effort to make sure Gi-hun does not miss, and they cross the finish line with only 1 second left on the clock. The other team, unable to finish in time, is shot and eliminated. After the second game, the remaining teams gather together and talk about what happened. The mother, player 149, asks why player 120 made everyone turn around when it was her turn to kick the sack. Player 120 explains that she did not feel comfortable having people watch her. Meanwhile, in the main room, the guards enter to announce the results of the second game. The piggy bank, which has been collecting money from the players who have died, is now filled with 20.1 billion won, representing the money from 110 dead players. This money will now be split between the 255 remaining players, meaning each of them will receive 73 million won. The players, however, are not pleased with this outcome. They feel frustrated and angry, believing that more people should have died in order to increase their individual share of the prize money. When asked about her vote, a woman, player 380, from Thanos' team tells the young player, player 125, that she chose to stay because if she left, she would have to face something far scarier outside the game. Elsewhere, player 007 tells his mother, player 149, that he had no choice but to vote to stay. He explains that the prize money is not enough to cover the 100 million won he owes. If he does not pay off the debt by next month, he says, he will be killed. The mother, player 149, then asks why player 120 voted to stay. Player 120 shares her story, explaining that when she started her transition and told everyone she was living as a woman, her life completely changed. She lost her job as a soldier, her friends abandoned her, and her parents cut ties with her. As her debt grew, life became more difficult. She says she plans to play one more game, go to Thailand to complete her transition, and start a new life from there. In the bathroom, the mother waits for Jun-Lee to come out, but when she does not, the mother goes inside to check on her. She finds Jun-Lee sitting on the floor, crying, not from pain, but because she is terrified. Meanwhile, Junho and the two teams continue their search for the island, heading out on boats. The third game is about to begin. Thanos and his friend take more pills from his necklace to steady themselves. The players are instructed to step onto a platform in the center of the room. Once they do, the platform begins to spin. Eventually, it will stop, and a number will be called out. The players must form a team that matches that number. They then have 30 seconds to enter one of the 50 doors leading to the next room. If they do not make it in time or if the number of people in the team is wrong, they will be eliminated. They must all enter the room and close the door before it locks. The next round begins, this time requiring teams of 6. Player 120, the young Marine, player 388, Jun-Lee, player 222, the mother and son, and player 095 hurry to reach a room. However, player 095 is knocked over in the chaos. Just as the door is about to close, the crypto guy, player 333, shoves his way in, securing the door and leaving player 095 behind. They watch in horror as she is killed at the entrance. Though they feel guilty, player 333's action saved them, as they would have been eliminated if player 095 had not made it inside, leaving only 5 players alive. Meanwhile, on the water, Junho's team is flying a drone, searching for any signs of the island. Junho explains that they need to clear all the islands he has already checked so that he can narrow down their search area, hoping to find the location of the deadly game. Back in the main room, player 333 pulls Jun-Lee, player 222, aside. He suggests that once they make it out, they should start fresh together. He believes they could combine their winnings so he can pay off his debts and begin investing again. Jun-Lee, however, angrily rejects this idea. She tells him that she will use her money to raise their child, and that he needs to pay off his own debts without relying on her. Gi-hun's team begins calculating the chances that, with the remaining players, they might be able to win the next vote to leave. Frontman, player 001, urges them to stay calm and focus on the task ahead. Gi-hun argues that they need to convince the others to join their side, but Frontman warns that trying to force people over would only lead to violence and further complications. Elsewhere, the team on the water heads onto the island on foot, determined to investigate what the drone had seen. Upon reaching the spot, they discover a hatch leading underground. When they open it to explore further, a massive explosion erupts, sending team members flying through the air. The blast leaves chaos in its wake, and the team is thrown into disarray. In the main room, the vote to stay or leave continues. Gi-hun's team needs player 001 to vote to leave again to create a tie. Gi-hun's friend tries to explain what player 001 did in the last game, where he killed a player who would not leave, but he is interrupted. The 7th episode starts with the intense fight between the X's and O's reaches its peak when player 333 stabs Thanos in the throat with a fork. Thanos continues to struggle as player 333 tries to escape, but eventually, Thanos dies. Player 333 locks himself in the bathroom to avoid being caught, leaving Thanos behind. Meanwhile, the battle rages on in the main room with players attacking each other, and blood is spilled everywhere. As the lights come back on and the fighting stops, Gi-hun takes advantage of the chaos. He knows that the guards will first break up the fights and then start scanning the bodies. This gives him and his team the perfect opportunity to play dead and then strike. They launch at the guards, overpowering them and taking their guns. They start shooting the guards, killing them one by one. The officer orders the guards to retreat and seal the entrance, but one guard is left behind. Some players hesitate to join them, but Gi-hun's friend makes a passionate plea, convincing a few to join the rebellion. Frontman, still observing from above, tells Gi-hun, "After this is over, buy me a drink." As the young Marine searches for ammo, he hears gunfire from upstairs, panicking. He drops his radio, which player 120 attempts to contact him through, and retreats to the main room without delivering the ammo to the players. Player 120, concerned, decides to head back down to investigate what happened. Frontman, as promised, finds a way around the guards with 2 other players. He signals Gi-hun and his friend on the radio to start shooting to take out the guards from behind. However, as Gi-hun and his friend stand in front of Frontman, he betrays them, shooting both players in the back. The betrayal deepens the conflict as the players now realize they cannot trust Frontman. Gi-hun and his friend also surrender. Frontman, now masked, confronts them. He mocks Gi-hun for playing the hero and shoots Gi-hun's friend, forcing Gi-hun to watch. The board announces player 390 eliminated.